A father marked by scars and a son guided by faith face together, the weight of disdain and the hope for a better future. Amidst closed doors and judgmental glances, they will discover that true value lies not in what is seen, but in what remains invisible. The engine of the old 1989 Chevrolet protested one last time before falling completely silent. Michael Turner ran his hand over his tired face, looking at the imposing skyscraper of Hale Corporation that stood before him like a monument to the success he had never achieved. The mirrored glass of the building reflected back the image he was so ashamed of. A 42-year-old man, with deep dark circles, prematurely gray hair, and a shirt that, despite being carefully ironed, revealed years of use with its worn cuffs. "Dad, we will make it." The gentle voice of Daniel, his 10-year-old son, brought him back to reality. The boy with brown eyes and dark hair had a face sprinkled with freckles, a legacy from the mother who had abandoned them when he was just 3 years old. "Remember what Grandma always said. God doesn't take us where His grace cannot sustain us." Michael smiled, feeling his heart warm. Daniel was his strength, his reason for waking up every morning at 4:30, even when his muscles ached from heavy labor. The boy was too smart to waste his potential in a life of limitations. "You're right, champ, it's just that." He hesitated, looking at his own hands. Deep scars crisscrossed the toughened skin. They were hands that knew the weight of bricks, the heat of asphalt, the cut of steel. "I don't know if I'm the kind of person they're looking for." Daniel pulled the little children's Bible from his coat pocket, a gift from his grandmother before she passed away, and pressed it against his chest like a talisman. "Mr. Samuel always says in Sunday school, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart." Michael nodded, taking a deep breath. He adjusted the borrowed tie, one of the few mementos from his father, and grabbed the worn leather briefcase that contained his simple resume. The job advertisement for a building maintenance supervisor was his chance. After years of working in construction and factories, he had developed skills that could finally secure a stable salary and health insurance for Daniel, who suffered from asthma. "Let's go then," he said, getting out of the car. The engine coughed again as Michael turned the key to ensure it was off, drawing laughter from 2 young executives walking by on the sidewalk. "Man, that car is older than my first computer," laughed one of them. "Must be the new janitor," commented the other. Michael pretended not to hear, but he felt the flush of embarrassment rise up his neck. Daniel squeezed his hand. "They're just jealous, Dad," the boy whispered. "You fix things they don't even know how they work." The lobby of Hale Corporation was a study in marble and metal, with a ceiling so high it seemed to touch the sky. Daniel looked in wonder at the frenetic movement of well-dressed people, at the glass elevators going up and down like space capsules. At the reception desk, a woman in an elegant suit and with impeccable hair raised her eyebrows as she saw Michael and Daniel approach. "Can I help you?" she asked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good morning, ma'am. Michael Turner, I have an interview at 9:30 for the maintenance supervisor position." She examined him from head to toe, her gaze lingering on the faded white shirt and the trousers with a discreet patch on the knee. Michael had spent the previous night polishing his only pair of dress shoes for the interview. "Oh, yes," she said, checking the computer. "Mr. Turner, 6th floor, conference room B. Candidates are being interviewed in groups." Upon reaching the 6th floor, Michael immediately realized he was out of place. 5 other candidates were waiting outside the conference room, all dressed in new suits. Most of them looked younger, with faces unfamiliar with work under the scorching sun. "Dad, I can wait outside," Daniel offered, noticing his father's discomfort. "No, son. The coordinator said it was okay for you to come. Your school is under renovation today, remember. We can't leave you home alone." One of the younger candidates looked at them and remarked loudly enough to be heard, "Some of us have babysitters for that." Michael felt his stomach sink, but he maintained a calm face. He remembered the previous night when he was counting coins on the kitchen table to ensure he had enough gas to get to the interview. And last month, when he had to choose between buying Daniel's asthma medication or paying the electricity bill. A young man in a gray suit opened the conference room door and called everyone inside. The room was spacious, with an oval table and leather chairs. Large windows offered a panoramic view of the city, reminding Michael how much he lived in a different world. Daniel sat quietly in a corner, holding his Bible and watching his father with proud eyes. "Good morning, everyone," began the young executive. "I am Jason Montgomery, Human Resources Manager. We will conduct a group interview to assess how you interact as a team." The first hour was torturous. The other candidates talked about experiences in large companies, technical courses, and specializations. Michael, when his turn came, spoke simply about his 20 years of working with his hands, building, repairing, keeping equipment running in conditions no one else could manage. "And where did you study team management, Mr. Turner?" Jason asked with a condescending smile. "I led construction teams for 8 years, Michael replied. "I learned hands-on how to motivate tired men to finish a roof before the rain comes, how to teach rookies respect for tools and safety." One of the younger candidates couldn't hold back. "With all due respect, we're in the 21st century. Hale Corporation is a technology company. We need people who understand integrated systems, not hammers and nails." Discreet laughter swept through the room. Michael felt his face burn but kept his eyes steady. "You're right," he agreed, surprising everyone. "And I have a lot to learn about modern technology, but I know one thing. When systems fail, when the power goes out, or the pipes burst, it's men like me who are called to solve the problem." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Jason Montgomery cleared his throat. "Well, we have some hypothetical situations to discuss. First scenario. You're in charge of building maintenance and 3 emergencies occur simultaneously. The data center's air conditioning system fails. There's a leak in the restaurant on the 15th floor, and the CEO is stuck in the elevator. How do you prioritize?" While the other candidates debated protocols and procedures, Michael noticed that Daniel had dropped his Bible. As he bent down to pick it up, he saw the book was open to Proverbs with an underlined passage. "A diligent man in his work will stand before kings." When the others finished their elaborate responses, Michael spoke. "I would send my best HVAC technician to the data center with clear instructions to report back in 5 minutes. I would personally go to free the CEO, because no one likes to be stuck, regardless of their position. And during the rescue, I could assess whether the problem is mechanical or electrical. Meanwhile, I would send someone to shut off the main valve on the leaking floor. In 15 minutes, I would reassess the situation based on the initial reports." Jason seemed surprised by the practical response. The door to the room suddenly opened. A tall man, around 55 years old, with gray hair and an impeccable posture, entered. Everyone stood up immediately. "Gentlemen, sorry for the interruption," Jason said nervously. "This is Mr. Richard Hale, our CEO." Richard Hale walked to the end of the table, his sharp eyes analyzing each candidate. "Please continue. I'm just observing." The interview continued, now with added tension. When it ended, Jason asked each candidate to briefly introduce themselves to the CEO. Michael was the last. "Michael Turner, sir. 20 years of experience in maintenance and construction. And this is my son, Daniel." Richard Hale reached out to shake his hand. When their palms met, something strange happened. The CEO stopped, as if he had received a shock. His eyes fixed on Michael's hands, those large, calloused hands marked by old scars. Richard's expression changed completely. His eyes, previously cold and analytical, filled with tears. To the shock of everyone in the room, the powerful CEO of Hale Corporation held Michael's hand between his own, examining it as if it were a precious relic. "These scars," murmured Richard, his voice choked with emotion. "This particular mark." He pointed to a deep scar crossing Michael's palm. "How did you get it?" Michael hesitated, confused by the reaction. "It was 7 years ago, sir. An accident at a hospital. I cut my hand while breaking a window to enter an emergency room during a blackout." Richard Hale closed his eyes for a moment, tears streaming freely down his austere face. "Which hospital?" he asked, almost in a whisper. "Grace Memorial. I was a blood donor and was there when the power went out. There was a girl in need of an urgent transfusion." The room was in absolute silence. Jason Montgomery seemed in shock. The other candidates watched the scene, perplexed. "It was my daughter," Richard said, his voice trembling. "Emily had leukemia. That night she desperately needed blood during a crisis. The hospital's generator failed. The doctor said a man broke the procedure room's window when the electronic doors got stuck, cut himself deeply, but insisted on continuing the donation even though he was injured." Michael lowered his eyes, embarrassed. "It was nothing, sir. Anyone would have done the same." "No, Michael, it wasn't just anyone, it was you." Richard now held Michael's shoulders. "You have the same rare blood type as my Emily. Without that donation, she wouldn't have survived until the next morning." Daniel approached his father, looking at him with admiration. "You never told me this story, Dad." Michael smiled shyly. "Some things we do without needing to tell, son." Richard turned to the others present, his face still marked by emotion, but now composed with the dignity of his position. "Gentlemen, you have just witnessed something I have been trying to teach in this company for years. The true value of a person is not in the suit they wear or the degree they have. It lies in the character demonstrated when no one is watching." He turned to Michael. "You already have the job if you still want it, but I would like to offer something different. Our company has a technical training program for young talents. Your practical knowledge is exactly what we need to guide these young people who know theory but have never gotten their hands dirty." In the following days, the lives of Michael and Daniel were transformed. Michael received not only a stable job as coordinator of the practical training program, but also an apartment in the company housing complex, close to the school where Daniel could develop his academic potential. 3 months later, on a sunny Sunday, Michael parked his new car, modest but reliable, in front of the church they attended. Daniel, dressed in new clothes but not overly dressed, carried the same worn Bible. "Dad," said the boy as they walked, "remember when Grandma used to say that God sees our silent struggles?" Michael nodded, adjusting his tie, now his own, no longer borrowed. "I think I understand now," Daniel continued. "It wasn't your hands that changed our life. It was what you did with them all this time." As they entered the church, Michael spotted a familiar face, Richard Hale, sitting discreetly in the back pews with a fragile-looking young woman, but with a radiant smile, Emily. Richard waved, his eyes conveying a gratitude that words could never express. Michael returned the gesture, his hands still calloused, still marked, no longer symbols of shame, but silent witnesses to a life of dignity. That morning, the pastor spoke about how small acts of kindness can alter entire destinies. Daniel, holding his father's hand, whispered, "Like your hands, Dad, like your hands." And Michael understood that his scars told a story that no expensive suit could ever tell, the story of a man who, even in the darkest hours, chose the path of sacrifice and kindness, not to be recognized or rewarded, but simply because it was the right thing to do.